If you've ever wanted to sign up to our Patreon, our 10 listeners, you'll get to see what...
Whoa. We have 20.
Our 20 listeners. You'll see what a terrible human being Alex Clinton is. This is why he's funny, right? Because he's, he breaks the boundaries, but unfortunately he goes too far quite often.
Nah. I haven't even said anything bad about Princess Diana yet.
Free game.
We're about to do a movie that was filmed in total silence, much like you wish this podcast was. Welcome to the Three Takes of Stupidity. This is the final installment of the Martial Arts Trilogy, and it's the visually beautiful, high-art-throwing Bruce Lee classic, Enter the Dragon. I'm joined by Chandler Monk.
Hello.
James Robbins.
Hiya.
And I am Sensei Clinton. Please note, this is the first film we've done in the 70s, and we're not doing Star Wars. How hipster are we?
Is that actually our first film from the 70s?
Yeah.
Oh, incredible. I didn't know that was the first film from the 70s, so that's nice. We can tick that one off. We can go back through the decades, maybe. But boys, what have you been up to this week?
I have had a lovely week of doing nothing apart from watching some films. I watched as just
It's funny because that's what we talk about here.
It is.
It is. That's mental.
I watched Enemy at the Gates, which is about Stalingrad, which is it was very meh, to be honest. I'm sure we'll cover it at some point.
It's very on brand for you, though, Alex.
It is very on brand for me. So that's the second film I watched, really, which was the World Trade Center, or just World Trade Center, starring Nick Cage, which I thought was going to be not funny, but because it's got Nick Cage in it, I thought there would be moments where his Nick Caginess would come out. There isn't. It's very heart-wrenching, it's terrifying, and it reminds us that when towers fall, life goes on. But those people trapped in the rubble. Think about that.
James, do you want to follow that?
Probably not. Were you drawn to that film because of your algorithm by any chance?
No, I was drawn for it because I actually was looking... I was actually looking for Enter the Dragon, and I searched just using the word enter, and Americans spell center incorrectly, so the word enter is within the word center, and that came up, and then instead of actually watching Enter the Dragon like I meant to yesterday, I instead watched that, and I can safely say I think I was more entertained. In fact, I was definitely more entertained. I was gripped, and I nearly cried at least 4 moments.
Four.
There was four definite moments.
I really, really want to move on from this.
We should watch it. Join our next series, Terror Attacks, the films.
I'm just moving us on. James, what have you done this week?
What have I done this week? I don't think I've watched very much. I caught up with Apothecary Diaries. It's just got really, really good. Such a good series. A must-watch, honestly. I genuinely believe that. It's just some of the best television I've watched in a long time. And what else? There's something I've been keeping up to on Instagram, which is this account called Simon Sits. Simon is a dog, and the owner fosters a lot of dogs that are like troubled, that aren't getting homed or maybe have an illness or whatever. And she recently homed this little pup with major nervousness. This dog was going to get euthanized. It was basically shut down, wouldn't leave its crate. But in 44 days, she managed to get the dog to be friendly, playing, going for walks and stuff. And the dog just got adopted to a lot of happiness on the internet. And anyway, it's just really great. And I think if you can foster animals, that's good. I hope to do it at some point.
I genuinely did not have the answer to what James has done this week to be I've followed intensely the adoption of a dog to be on my 3 takes bingo card this week.
It's been over. Obviously, I've been following this for over 2 months, but just thought I didn't do enough this week to have anything else to talk about.
Yeah, you still somehow managed to talk about it for a full 2 fucking minutes.
Now 1.
He did also mention Apothecary Diaries, though. It's an 8.5 on IMDb, so people should watch. We won't, but people should.
You should. You really should give it a go.
No, I've I read all of it.
Oh yeah, you read the novel, did you?
I've seen the yeah, it's rubbish dive at the end. Chandler, what have you been up to?
Fuck all, to be honest. This week, I don't know why. I've seen.
Chandler, there's no excuse. That's why you just make something up like I did. When I said Oblivion the other week, I actually played it 2 weeks before.
I watched Bert Kreischer's new stand-up special. Which was very good, actually, really, really good. This genuinely, though, because the last story is about a story of his dog, and genuinely, following on from what James said about talking about dogs for 2 minutes, I was crying and crying with laughter at his last 10-minute bit he does in a special about his dog. It was very, very good. Alex, if you've not watched it, you need to go watch it. But that's about it, really.
Yes, I will watch it. Just a quick one, just for James. Was the dog adopted?
Yeah, it was adopted, and people were being really angry because they're like,
sorry,
"Why did you adopt?"
Was the dog in Bert Kreischer's thing? Was that adopted?
I'm not going to give it away because spoilers.
All right, if it was adopted, please watch it. If it wasn't adopted, do not watch it. Do not support people who buy their dogs. Like James, he threw his dog on the street and then brought it back in.
What?
So he could say he adopted it.
No.
Buy, don't adopt. They're all gross. There's a reason they're unwanted.
You did
Alex.
not. You, Alex, I could see your reaction there of just, oh my god, what have I said? Please bring it back into my mouth.
No, I stand by it. I also looked into dog adoption, and there are a lot of dogs on there that you're like, I kind of get why you're not in a home anymore.
I don't think you should be in a home. You know that?
Everyone has an opinion.
Someone's to lock you in a cage, little bitch. So, the housekeeping out the way. Enter the Dragon, a 1973 classic. Lee, a martial artist and instructor from a Shaolin temple in Hong Kong, is approached by a British intelligence agent, Braithwaite, who asks for his help in an undercover mission to investigate suspected crime lord Han, who was once one of the students in the Shaolin temple. Lee is persuaded to attend a high-profile martial arts tournament on Han's private island to gather evidence that will not only prove Han's involvement in drug trafficking and prostitution, but also give Lee the chance to avenge the death of his sister. So this movie got a 7.6 on IMDb, and it's rated 88% by critics on Rotten Tomatoes and 91% on the Popcornometer by audiences. It's got a 3.8 or 3.9 on Letterboxd as well. Guys, initial thoughts. What did you think going into this film?
I can't wait to watch a Bruce Lee film. I've never seen one before. I obviously won't see one ever again. Spoilers.
Okay, God.
So I was pretty excited.
I was very much the same as Alex. I was excited because this is definitely one of those films you have to watch. It's on everyone's top 100 to see before you die sort of lists. And I've never seen this, never seen a Bruce Lee film. So I was excited to watch it. What about you?
Yeah, I was really excited to watch it. I couldn't remember if I'd watched this when I was a kid or not, and I quickly realised I definitely didn't watch this when I was a kid. But as a huge fan of Power Rangers when I was a 6-year-old, I wanted to watch martial arts films. And I definitely saw something, but I can't remember what.
James, it's my role on this podcast to say that they saw films way too young.
I can have one. And I didn't. And guess what? I didn't.
Never before has Bruce Lee and Power Rangers been put together.
I'm sure they have.
So poetic.
They definitely fucking have.
They absolutely have. Bruce Lee is probably an inspiration for Power Rangers. What?
No, being on a shit ton of LSD, that's inspiring to the Power Rangers. Go, Green Ranger! Yeah!
Oh, that's a series that we can do, though, is kids show modern day movie adaptations and do that fucking terrible Power Rangers movie that came out a few years ago. It actually wasn't that bad, but it wasn't good.
I'm not watching it. You've just described it as a terrible Power Rangers movie.
We can do bad
We
films.
do the original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. That was a great film.
Rest in peace, Jason David Frank.
Yes!
Yeah.
Rest in peace.
That was sad.
All right, moving on. Moving swiftly back to Bruce Lee.
I mentioned at the start that this film is a classic, and I think that word gets thrown around probably a lot. If the film's over 15 years old, it probably gets called a classic half the time by someone out there. But this movie definitely has a really, really huge legacy. It was the first of its type to introduce martial arts alongside spy, like introduce the genre of martial arts and spy movies together, and also something that I didn't actually know existed in genre, but something called blaxploitation, which was a kind of a fight back against how black people were depicted in movies beyond this point, and trying to depict them as heroes and also in their realistic, like more like in real life rather than stereotypes and, you know, from a racist point of view.
Have you not heard of that term before, Alex?
I hadn't until
I
this.
just came up with about 5 different jokes in my head that I can't say.
No, I can't believe you've never heard. No, but like the most famous probably of those blaxploitation films, character anyways, is Shaft, which is a very famous character. That's started from those like blaxploitation films.
This obviously with the character of Williams in this movie, who is clearly a hero, does kick the bucket first, which is you become a bit of a stereotype for black characters in movies, but he is definitely one of the main protagonists.
In horror films, if there's a black guy, they're probably dying first.
That was the classic trope, wasn't it?
He got rid of one stereotype and accidentally made another.
But he was depicted very quite cool in a martial arts studio, and he's introduced in the film by got a passport. He's going to make his way to Hans Island because he was also invited, and some racist cops just try to arrest him for no reason and take his passport. So he beats the shit out of them.
Yeah, I did write that down. I was like, oh, there's quite progressive in this. Oh, no, here come the racist 70s cops.
Yeah. And they're like, you're not going on holiday. You're not going to Hawaii. It's like,
yeah. You can't afford that.
I am. Proceeds to beat the shit. I love that he stole their car. I'm guessing there was enough time between stealing the car and the flight and then being knocked out to not get caught and picked up at the airport. But like, he wanted to leave Hans Island at one point. I don't know if he would be straight to jail.
I liked his little mini journey he went on. He went from being the hero against the police to getting on the boat that they're taking to Hans Island to instantly saying, ghettos are the same all over the world, man. I was like, you're just bringing everyone down now.
But he was making a educated point on disparity in classes in society, Alex. Come on.
Fuck. I slipped that across the box for him there, didn't I? That was a tap-in for him.
James, the voice you just used to say that is not your own voice.
I've just been patronising to Alex. But yeah, the character does go on a bit of a journey, Williams. I think we could probably get him out of the way quite quickly because he's not in it for very long after that.
Just brush him away. Here he is. There he was. Goodbye.
He's like, I wasn't. So you guys can tell me, but like, I knew what Roper's motives were to go to the island. I understood what Lee's motives were to go to the island, but I didn't really know what Williams' motives were.
I think everyone sort of had an underlying motive of it's a karate tournament. You should probably go there to win the karate tournament.
Was it karate?
That was everyone sort of.
Are you generalising?
Yeah, that everyone there wanted to win a karate tournament. Yes, I am generalising. All of the karate people wanted to win at the karate tournament. Yes.
He wanted you to say kung fu, is what he wanted you to say there, Alex.
Martial arts. But it is kung fu, yeah.
All right.
But actually, funnily enough, Bruce Lee had a very was not just kung fu. We're doing a martial arts series. You can at least like try and be semi-accurate.
Yeah, okay. Everyone wanted to go win this MMA tournament.
I mean, that's actually better because Bruce Lee made his own form of kung fu away from the stifling traditions of original kung fu with his own style and introduced street fighting techniques into it. So you're not too wrong. Bruce Lee created MMA.
You heard it here first.
His best move was...
For those who can't see, Alex is killed over dead.
Yeah, if he didn't like it, he should be still here to defend himself.
Yeah, Williams gets accused very quickly of just because he was outside being Bruce Lee, who started to investigate on the island and creep around and beat up a load of guards. And he was just like, I was just outside. So then Han proceeds to kill him. What were you guys thinking at that point? Because I thought it was a bit early to take one of the main characters out of the film.
It took a really dark turn.
Yeah, I didn't think it was early. When I was watching this film, I did before we started watching it, I think I did the same thing as you two of like, oh, it's only an hour and 40 minutes.
Oh, what we want me and Alex to do every week.
And I actually felt every minute of this film because I actually found it quite long and tedious, even for an hour and 40 minutes.
That's different to me.
So like when you said, oh, it was a bit like early to take one of them out, I was like, just get rid of them already. Let's just get to the end. Like I was like, we all know. Like again, I think it's similar to what I said for Karate Kid, because obviously this film has been out for 10 years longer. This film originated pretty much every stereotype and trope we have for martial arts action films of this ilk for the last 60 years.
Into the West for sure. Like it introduced it to the West.
Yeah. And so I was like kind of watching going, well, I know what's going to happen here. I know what's going to happen there. I know where the ending is. I know what's the ending's going to be, sort of thing. And I was just like, I can really feel that this is long and boring.
But I don't know if that's a worthwhile complaint, because I think most movies, if you like Chandler, you're a Marvel fan like I am, or a comic book movies fan, you know how they're going to end for the most part. You're rarely ever surprised. There might be a twist, but good guy's going to win, bad guy not going to win. Maybe they escape, maybe they die. You can roughly predict what's going to happen. So, everything's been done to death. Definitely hadn't have been in this type of cinema in 1973.
True. But I think like when you guys were talking about Karate Kid and you guys had a similar similar like notes of like, oh, it's very tropey, it's very this, it's very that.
True.
You didn't say, the things you didn't say though, is that it was boring.
No, there were things you could have lost in there though, or sped up about it.
Yeah, maybe.
Problem with Karate Kid is I found it unintentionally funny when it shouldn't have been.
But I found this I'm sorry, but this film is so unintentionally funny every time. And don't get me wrong, Bruce Lee's fantastic. Bruce Lee's really great in the film, and the action sequence that he choreographs are really good. Like in the script, they literally would go fight scene, and it would just say Mr. Lee choreographs the fight scene.
Yeah, they're
enjoyable action and fight scenes to watch from 50 years ago. So, but every time I had a shot of Bruce Lee's face, just it was. I'm sorry. I laughed every time. And during there was one big fight scene at the end. We're really jumping around here, but during the one big fight scene at the end, and during the big cave fight scene, every time the noises would come out of Bruce Lee, I was just pissing myself laughing. I felt really bad, but it was so funny.
But the important thing to remember in all of these scenes is that this is filmed in silence. He's added those later when they've had time to think about those noises, where they're like,
I know.
I'm gonna put, it looks like you say something like, yeah, here. He goes, no, hiya! And they're like, yeah, are you sure about that? He's like, yeah. And then he did it 18 times.
Don't want to lower an octave here. Don't want to get a bit deeper, maybe. High pitch is what we're going for, right? Great. Cool.
I'm really glad you guys found it funny as well.
I think
I found it funny just purely because of that fact that they added it all in later.
I find them ridiculous, and it's quite incredible to see that sound has become such a it's become a cultural like standing point. It's a cultural monolith. It's just never going to go. Everyone knows the martial arts sound effects, whether it be from a film like this, they know it 50 years later. It's super iconic, but it is unintentionally quite funny.
It is so funny.
Yeah, where do they get the noises from as well? Like the whoosh and the
yeah, I didn't. That's
where do they get all that from?
But it's very like
I know.
But it's very old school sounds because they were very similar to the sounds in the Karate Kid as well. And they sound like old Batman and as well.
These were a lot more over the top. So much more over the top.
Yeah. But I've never karate chopped someone, so I don't know if it does sound like but I imagine if I did, I would then stop for a couple of seconds and be like, no way, it actually sounds like that. And the big pow came at me as well.
Subscribe to us on TikTok to watch Alex karate chop some people to find out if the sounds are correct.
Yes, it'd be mainly old people in the high street because they can't really chase you.
I didn't find the hayas and etc. that funny because I think just accustomed to it and expected it. But I did find some of the overacted facial expressions absolutely hilarious. So I mentioned in the
Chandler's doing some of those expressions.
Chandler's full screen right now. I mentioned in the Good Old Housekeeping that Lee's avenging his sister. Lee's sister was probably going to get kidnapped and put into the drug and prostitution ring of Han, and she I put down she committed seppuku, but that's Japanese and it's not really a thing in China. But you basically disembowel yourself to kill yourself. But during that scene, when she gets into the house and they break in after her, she goes up against the wall and her face is just like wide-eyed. Wow! Oh no! And it made me laugh. It reminded me of that the memes of that kid from the kids' TV show that went all around Vine, where he's overacting and he's like, "Wow, wow."
Before we get to go back to Williams, the one thing I'm going to say, James mentions that Han was basically taking loads of women to get to be prostitutes on his island for his his karate tournament.
And he also wanted to he wanted to do it in the States and stuff because that's why he invited Roper.
Yeah.
He wanted Roper to sell his drugs and do whatever he was doing.
The actresses that played said prostitutes were actual prostitutes.
What the
apparently,
fuck?
Because they apparently couldn't find Chinese actresses who were okay with doing the nudity. So they just hired real sex workers.
That is cool. That's very cool. Sketchy auditions, but cool.
But to be clear, Han wasn't just trying to sell drugs and be a pimp. He was forcefully capturing people, drugging women, and trying to get them accustomed to the drug, and many would die. And so he just has cages full of...
Was the word you were looking for? It was addicted.
No, that's not what they used in the film. They wanted to build up a tolerance to the drug for some reason. Addicted makes more sense than that, and I might be misremembering, but I was very confused at why it was build up a tolerance or something.
Han is actually the inspiration for Bill Cosby.
Alex.
Fine, you can make jokes
Alex
about
is a terrible human being.
No, you can make jokes about terrible people. That's a good thing.
Anyway, Princess Diana.
Am I right?
Anyway, back to the characters. Back to Williams. I think that as soon as he's been accused, he does that thing of like, it's definitely not me, but then doesn't want to give up any other information than that. So it just leads Han going, well, I've got to kill you now because I'm going to fight. I'm going to beat the shit out of you. And then I can't not kill you.
They say snitches get stitches, but sometimes non-snitches get dead. Which is...
But I did think because I'm brushing past there. Because
The silence was definite.
In my notes, because we obviously know where this is going, like we know the final fight is going to be Lee against Han, right? Like you just know that's what the ending is. I did find that when Han's now finally fighting Williams, I'm like, finally we get to see Han fight.
Yeah.
Because that at least builds up the tension for going, shit, this guy can fight as well. So like Lee, when it comes up in the finale, it's obviously going to be a good action scene.
Yeah.
So which I do think that has to happen. You have to see Han fight before the end. Because otherwise you're like, he's going to be shit, isn't he?
I think they built Han up quite slowly. I think in a good way for the final fight. And Chandler, you're exactly right. I think Chandler, you're exactly right. I think that fight is an excellent part of that. But they also, when the tournament begins and he has like his guys fight, they're quite brutal. We see because Lee beat up some guards and they failed to do their job. Alex is dying for some reason. When the guards failed to capture Lee, when Lee was doing some sleuthing, he basically just got his enforcer. Was his name Bolo, basically to kill them all, which I did not expect.
Yeah,
just snapping them in two the whole time. And you can presume in these types of stories that Han is then going to be more powerful than his enforcer, of which he is.
Fun fact about the guy who plays that character of Bolo Yang. He changed his name to the name of this character because that's what he was recognised for.
Oh, bless him. Kind of weird.
That's nice.
His original name was Yang Z, and then after the success of this film, he legally changed his name to Bolo Yang.
Fair enough.
That would be like Robert Downey Jr. legally changing his name to Tony Stark.
Yeah, that's weird.
Or his character in Tropic Thunder.
I guess Bolo Yang never thought he'd be in another good movie or play a good character because
Was he ever in another good movie though? Or?
Stand by.
I'm gonna say no if he was like instantly just I've peaked.
Yeah, I'm Bolo Yang.
Yeah, no, I didn't look that far into it. I just read it. He was in Bloodsport. Now that's another really famous film. Bloodsport is a Jean-Claude Van Damme film. Very, very famous Jean-Claude Van Damme film.
I wonder why you pronounced it Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Shut up.
Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Jean-Claude
he's
Van
been in
Damme
bloody
film.
loads.
He has. He's got 111 acting credits.
He was last in something in 2017.
Oh, Jesus. Man's just got 100 fucking names.
Yeah, imagine that.
Character he does, he
Change
adds a
every
name
character
on.
he's
But anyway, yeah, I think with those kind of moments, and also then seeing the men and women that he's basically taken from the ghetto in the cages, and the kind of business and situation he runs, you are built up that Han is clearly powerful in his crime and his business, and probably a powerful martial artist given what the movie is about. So yeah, I think it builds it up quite well. And then also, look, killing off one of the main protagonists is a great way to be like, oh shit, okay. Because I didn't expect any of them to die. Honestly, I didn't. And then
Really?
No, I don't know why.
You didn't expect any of them to die in this mysterious martial arts tournament on an island, on a private island.
I thought people would die.
Where the guy is a crime lord.
I didn't think the main three would die. But then the bit when he was like strung up over the water tank to be dropped in, I guess, just to drown, unless it was like acid or something, I don't know.
I think he's already dead.
Think it is acid.
Yeah,
I don't know if he was.
I think it might be. It's either acid or he's got sharks in there or something.
Yeah.
I think he's.
It's not James Bond.
He looks pretty dead.
He doesn't have sharks.
Spy Kids.
Could be. He could do.
Could do. But that was quite brutal. He was, I mean, well done to the makeup department. He looked fucked.
Yes, that was one time the makeup department managed to do blood relatively well.
Realistically.
There was a couple of times in this, again, recency bias coming in, that they looked like they'd just been scribbled on with jam.
The blood was quite bright. Quite bright.
So I think now that we've spoken about like the art that Williams has and unfortunately dies, but he dies as a sort of threat and a way to entice Roper.
Yeah.
Because as we've sort of touched on, is that Han's scheme is what he's got going on the island is to now extend that into the States, and that's why he invited Roper, the American, over to the tournament, and he sort of uses this as to see if it was Roper sleuthing around the island, but also to try and entice him into joining his operation.
He was very keen to use Roper to expand his work and business into the States. And yeah, Chandler, I think you're exactly right that Williams was a threat to be like, look, this can happen to you, work for me. But then Roper, I think it's a good demonstration of the not only martial arts, but how the philosophy of martial arts and the philosophy of Bruce Lee also believed in martial arts and stuff, and kind of the whole honor thing, and how Roper wouldn't get sucked into it. And I think those are important themes to have in a martial arts film. And he just basically said, fuck no. But Roper's easily could have given in. We meet him at the start of the film beating up some, I guess, like loan sharks who he owes a load of money to. Someone called Freddy. I thought Freddy would be, since he was named, would maybe be a bigger part of the film at some point elsewhere. He wasn't. Guess Roper's gone back to Freddy at the end of the film without money and no protection and still got to deal with loan sharks. You know, maybe he should have taken that deal.
Do you not think his character arc, because like you say, he goes from degenerate gambler, lending money from loan sharks. He's even betting on the fights when they get into the
Tournament.
yard.
Tournament.
Yeah, but where are they? They're in like a garden. In the garden. They're all having fights on the lawn. He goes from betting on that with loan sharks to the end of the movie, then just giving winks to Lee after they've just beaten up everybody.
Wait. But not even just betting on it. Fixing the fights. Yeah. Like actively like going down in the first few rounds to then entice other people to bet against him and then just winning.
Yeah, because he's like, Williams, bet for me. And he gets... I was convinced he got absolutely slapped 3 times. And then he went 3. And then he absolutely...
I actually wrote, Roper is getting fucked up. Oh, wait, no, he's bumping the odds. Absolute goat material.
And then I just, in my notes following on from that, I went, oh, now he's getting a Thai massage. Nice.
Yeah, there is one bit you miss out. He just falls in love with one of the prostitutes as well.
No, it's the head prostitute.
Oh, yeah. The head prostitute.
The head prostitute.
And she's like, you've got good taste.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
Because Williams picks...
That was very James Bond, that, wasn't it?
Williams picks, 4 out of 6 girls? And I was like, what about the other 2? Why those 4? Why'd you stop at 4? And I'm sure Alex's titty...
Well, if you're going to have 4, if you're going to have 4, you may as well have 10.
And I was like, Alex's titty counter went off the charts when it is in his room. And then, Roper's like, nah. Roper's like quality, not quantity. This is a horrible way to talk about women. They're just doing their job on their island, which they've been, their imprisoned island. Fucking hell. To be honest, we are led to kind of believe that, I feel like with those instances of Roper, we're led to believe that he might actually give in to Han.
I would agree with you. I think the scene is left on a way that you believe that Roper's now working with Han. Definitely.
Yeah. He saved the cat, though.
Oh, no, actually, no. What I just said is bullshit.
No, I think the film was trying to lead you there.
Yeah, what I said is bullshit. No, I'm wrong, because he saves the cat, and then the comment from Han is, oh, there are some lines you won't cross. So that's why.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm wrong. 100%.
Oh, yeah.
I love how Han's idea for a good joke is like, put your head in this guillotine.
Yeah, that was fucked up.
What the shit?
Yeah, but this is Han's journey into being a darker villain. At the start, he's just a villain as a businessman. So he could work at Canary Wharf. Ooh.
Probably still could. Probably still could.
But as he gets further into it, he just gets a little bit more demented with every action. It's like, oh, I've just strung up your friend. And everyone's like, oh, this guy, you're not the nice businessman we thought you were. And he's like, how about you pop your head in the guillotine? You're like, that's the mark of an evil man. I think you're a nasty fella, you are.
But I also think, moving from Roper to Lee, I think it's also alluded, what is done well in the story of the film, and the story of the film is not even that great, but what is done well in the story of the film is...
I disagree. I think it's all right.
It's the story of Squid Game.
showing you Han's evil side, bit by bit. When Lee goes on his sleuthing the second time round, and he gets underneath and he sees all the people in cages, the women behind bars, the men behind bars. It is revealed to you shortly, which is quite cool. And in that scene, what I really enjoyed is when he takes the snake, throws it through the people in the Morse code bit, and just sits there, bored, waiting for them to be scared.
I loved Bruce Lee's acting in this. I thought it was it just felt ahead of his time. There's so many moments where they're on the boat at the start, going to the island. There's so many moments in that he's just top quality. And like you said, the moment where he's board on the door is phenomenal.
The bit on the boat I think you might be referring to is the fighting without fighting bit.
Yeah, I loved that.
Yeah, where he deals with Bob Wall, the guy in the boat who then gets
absolutely mullered in his first fight.
Yeah, someone had to.
Who's brought up? He's brought up to be this really good fighter, and then just dies within 4 seconds of his first fight.
But that boat scene where he's fighting without fighting is brilliant. Where he's just we'll go.
It's really funny.
We'll go to the island. Yeah, we'll go to the island. That little rowing boat. Yeah, he gets in. He gets in first. Bruce goes, okay, bye, and sends him out to sea with a rope, and it starts to sink.
2 points on that. I misnamed him. He's actually Peter Archer as Parsons, and he's only in this film because Bruce Lee saw him fight at a martial arts competition and just said, "Do you want to be in this film?" And he said, "Yeah." And then Bruce Lee went, "Well, I haven't actually finished the film yet, but I will call you when the film is ready to be shot and you can be in the film." And that's why he's in it.
That's cool. That is cool.
It's fair to say, I think Bruce Lee definitely can capture you as a lead in this film, as a testament to his talent as an actor. He obviously speaks English. You said he was born in San Francisco, right?
Correct.
He's born in San Francisco and then raised in British Hong Kong.
So I imagine at that time, people in the West weren't expecting him to speak good English, etc. But I do imagine his dual nationality was very helpful to bridge. This film was very important in bridging kind of gaps between East and West when it came to cultural differences and cinema. And he's just seems so perfect for that.
It's the first big Hollywood studio backed martial arts film. It's done really cheaply.
Yeah.
Even by today's standards, it's made for peanuts. But it's made back a ridiculous amount of money, which is why after this you get so many low budget imitations. It almost proves his it almost defines his legacy to that he unfortunately passed away straight after this. I think it was just before this film got released.
Yeah, this film was released 6 days after he died.
Yeah. So it defines his legacy that this film for its time is amazing, and as I said earlier, sets up all these stereotypes that has been played on for the past 50 years. It would have been really interesting to live in the parallel universe where he doesn't die and he goes on and just makes a fuck ton more of these types of movies, and see how he would have progressed it instead of other people picking up the baton to do it.
So we mentioned at the start, kind of how this film incorporates aspects of blaxploitation in terms of kind of fighting back against the stereotypes of black actors at the time, in the 50s especially, and before, in cinema. And this movie has been hugely, hugely heralded for bringing Asian people into Western movies in a realistic and respectful way, and not using them as caricatures and jokes. I mean, I was reading an article on The Guardian about how before this, there was just loads of rubbish where you would have the makeup making people, unfortunately, with yellow face or the buck teeth, etc., really, really horrendous racist caricatures, making them buffoons. And they were often played by white actors, like Mickey Rooney in Breakfast at Tiffany's. Lee hated this when he was used as a sidekick in The Green Hornet. And then he auditioned for a role, a TV series, and he was involved in its development, but he auditioned and was passed over for David Carradine, who had no Chinese ancestry or knowledge of martial arts. And this was around the time of shortly before Enter the Dragon was developed and shot and released. His legacy is wholly important. I was reading how, Bruce is impacted a lot on kind of, you look at Tom Cruise now and the way he approaches his own stunts, doing absolutely fucking mental shit at his big age as well. Hanging off the side of a plane in his most recent Mission Impossible. Bruce Lee was incredible, and Chandler, I think you're spot on. What would it be like to have seen him if he lived and carried on his legacy? Because you kind of only talk about legacy once people have passed,
As Lin-Manuel Miranda writes in Hamilton, legacy. What is a legacy? It's planting seeds in a garden you never get to see.
I don't think we needed that. He has a huge.
I liked it. I liked that, actually. I really liked that.
He's got a huge legacy, as you say, that stretches across so many things, from filmmaking, as you said there, Tom Cruise jumping off a plane. I think we can link that to Bruce Lee in some way, but directly, you get to people like Jackie Chan, John Woo, big Hong Kong action film stars, through to filmmakers like Tarantino. I even saw that Brett Ratner, who directed Rush Hour, that we covered last week, please go listen, it was a fantastic episode. He holds Bruce Lee very highly as an inspiration for him for mixed martial arts film. but it also stretches into the actual world of martial arts. Like, weirdly, like, just gonna reel off some names here of people who are inspired by him. Dana White, who made the UFC, and then like people like Sugar Ray Leonard, and even like Muhammad Ali, as mentioned. Not that he inspired Muhammad Ali, but he was impressed by his commitment to the craft.
He also used to train Chuck Norris, but anyway.
He trained Chuck Norris. That's mental. So the director of Yuen Wo Ping, who gave them was involved in the action in The Matrix, was heavily influenced. And you can see Tom Cruise's Mission Impossible, who was directed by John Woo, who is heavily influenced by Bruce Lee and martial arts cinema, Shang-Chi as well, and John Wick, all films highly influenced, and specifically the approach to action, I think, and stunt, heavily influenced by the work of Bruce Lee. I mean, this is a pioneer of the craft. This is a wholly important actor in his field, and I think it's only right that we kind of pay a bit of respect to that.
So there's two things I want to say. So what I said before, it would have been a very interesting thought experiment to live in a world that Bruce Lee did not die in, and he continued to make his own movies, because there is also the counter argument to the thing of, does he live long enough to see himself become the villain, where he's just like he made one film and all his others were shit. It's like Harper Lee only wrote To Kill a Mockingbird, and he was like, fucking nailed that, ain't gonna write another book. Do you know what I mean? But then the second thing I was going to say to that is, you bring up John Wick, and I think I love John Wick, and I love all 4 John Wick films, and I cannot wait for Ballerina to come out in about a month's time. But you very much go that John Wick is a style over substance movie. Like, it is the thinnest plot line in the world, right? All 4 John Wick films, they are the thinnest plot line, the simplest thing to follow. You're just there to watch all the action scenes, and that's what this film is.
Yeah,
like fundamentally, it's a very, very simple plot. Like, they had to throw in stuff while they were shooting it to make it slightly more complicated. Like, the whole thing about his sister dying and being killed, being made to kill herself because of one of Han's henchmen was going to attack her,
capture
and bring
her
her to the island. That was all thrown in very last minute,
really,
to make the film slightly more complicated.
Yeah, fair,
and give Lee a more emotional attachment to Han, instead of bad man must go kill bad man.
There's this random, I'm assuming he was the best guy at this Shaolin temple as a martial artist, obviously linked to the case throughout his sister's death. I don't know where they thought he would be.
We don't find out straight away, just saying that. He finds out for some weird fucker who we're not actually introduced to how he knows him. He's just like, yeah, I was going to take your sister to the city, and then we got attacked, and then she killed herself.
I assume that was the master of the head person at the temple.
No, it wasn't. Anyway, carry on.
But there was no kind of, I don't know where the expectation would come in that he'd be a very good spy.
But he's not a very good spy. He's not a very good spy at all.
He was a shit spy.
He's all right.
He's a terrible spy.
No, every time he goes sleuthing, he gets caught straight away. The only thing he did correctly, the only thing he did correctly out of all his spying was the fact that he managed to meet the other spy secretly. Like, he managed when the head sex worker was coming around with other said sex workers, and he was like, which one do you want? He was like, I want this very specific one.
The owner of this dart.
Yeah, exactly. And it happened to be the other spy. Fair play. He got to meet the inside woman. But that was it. That's the only thing he was good at. Because he then goes sleuthing, gets caught pretty much immediately, gets those 4 fuckers killed, and then the next night when he tries, he gets stung by a snake, throws this snake somewhere, alarms start blaring, he just sits there. He's a fucking shit spy. He's a fucking shit spy.
And then proceeds to fight off the 20 guys that have all come to get him, because they know exactly where he is. Because again, altogether now, he's such a shit spy.
But the other thing which annoys me in these types of films, and it happens just before the final fight scene, is that these guys are running towards him, but they're only attacking him one at a time. Why aren't they all fucking attacking him at the same time?
Because he choreographed
Say it
it.
louder for the people at the back. Say it louder. Why do they all attack one by one? Why does no one ever attack in groups or in a formation? Why is none of this fighting being taught as a group activity? Why is it individualism?
But that's the thing for action films of the past 50 years. They never attack as a group. They just go, right, you go. Now I'll go. Now he'll go. And we'll all fucking
It's in
die.
the plot that it's done.
Imagine if they went, it was a brawl. How did this one guy manage to beat up 18 people? Oh, we all decided we would go one at a time to make it fair.
But that's the other thing, right? Why does...
They have no honour. They all got killed instantly.
On the first night he goes sleuthing, he doesn't kill those guards. So they should know who the fuck beat them up. So Han should know who it was straight away.
Oh, but speaking of...
And then the other thing... Yeah, go on.
I was just going to say, speaking of Lee and he being brutal and shit spy, they didn't know it was him that first night. They went and blamed the other guy.
Yeah, it's mental, that. But the other thing as well, that when they go for the final fight and they're like, right, it's Han and Roper against everyone else. It's the same thing. Han just keeps calling people one by one. And there's like 150 people around him. And only does everyone get involved when Mi Ling has released all the other people. They're like, fuck it, everyone get involved now. This makes this one massive fight.
Mi Ling being the other spy.
It's unbelievable that everyone that she's released happens to be martial arts trained and ready to take on other martial arts trained people in a second.
And they're wearing a black gi to completely go against the white gi of Han's guys. Just by chance, they've all got really nice martial arts outfits on.
And also Lee and Roper are wearing yellow so you can pick them out in the wide shots.
I'm sorry, but you guys all hate this, but it's so anime because you see the main characters with stupid hair and cool outfits and then like the fodder just wearing boring clothes or the same thing.
Well, maybe that's where they get this from.
Yeah, that's probably where they get this from.
Maybe that's where they get this from. Yeah. Maybe they saw this. But maybe she was also releasing them and then she was like, oh, hang on. You're not going to wear that here to fight. And they were like, what's this? She was like, we need to go shopping. And that's where white chicks came from.
Oh, my God.
But that's the other thing about this. Like, everyone continues to fight while the British are coming. And like, they're taking fucking ages to come, apparently. We finally get Lee versus Han as a fight. And I think the first 5 minutes of the fighting is utterly ridiculous. When Han takes his fake hand off and just brings some nails against a fucking 2x4 bit of wood. I'm like, that's fucking, what the fuck is that?
I love how it's like a really shit bear claw. Like, I understand there was low budget, but could they have not made a more accurate...
Wolverine.
No, the Wolverine was next.
Wolverine. He became fucking Wolverine.
Then he became Wolverine. It got stuck, and then he was like, right, where's my better version? Which is interestingly not the one he keeps behind a lock and key of a box. Keeps a shit one under lock and key, but the Wolverine claw metal one he keeps on display.
But that's an artifact, isn't it? That was one of his little mini British museum out on his island with all his artifacts from empires all over the world. So that one's got to be special.
This is why this film's story is not well thought through.
The story aspects are fucking hilariously bad at points. Like, why did do we know how Han lost his hand? Ironically, Han with that. No, but did you see that? No. I'm assuming the skeletal hand he had in the case was his.
Yeah. Yeah, I assumed that as well, to be fair.
He looks at it like, At one point when he walks past, he's like, yeah.
I thought their fight, as much as it was building up to it, I didn't think it was that enjoyable to watch because every time they the shots of Lee with the Wolverine scratches on him around his body is so iconic. Those shots, like I've never seen this film before, but I know those shots. I've seen them before, like him topless, the scratches all over his body, his face, everything. It's so iconic. And it's really cool. It's really cool to see.
The amount of times in this fight that I wrote down, Han could kill him here. Oh no, he's just slashed at him. Rather than he's not a stabber, he's just a slasher.
Before I go too much into the fight, guys, you're forgetting the one bit of story that was absolute perfection and really important to the entire film that we alluded to earlier, and that is that they actually put in the reason why there's no guns.
Oh yeah, of course, because they were like, we're gonna start an international war.
Yeah, it's like, look, this is British land. right? This island, just this part of it where Han's house is, because he shows a map and he's like, you see this little bit, the whole island, not no, but this one's in our territory, so you can't take guns, and Han won't allow weapons because Bruce Lee asked the question, why don't we shoot the fucker?
But I will point out though, this is when I knew this film was going to have a very weak storyline, because as we know, as British people, if we have a bit of a territory, we don't mind taking the rest of that territory just so we can use our guns.
Very unrealistic.
Very unrealistic.
That's 2 colonisation English jokes from you in 2 weeks.
But I did think the way the film builds up the suspense of the Hall of Mirrors fight is cool. Like, it is, I did think it was very tense. The concept is done on a much better value and production scale in John Wick 2 or 3, I can't remember which one. But the idea of it here in this film and this budget at that time, the suspense is still done really well, and I actually did enjoy that bit of their fight, which isn't even that much fighting. It's just an interesting bit of storytelling.
It did feel like a flex of the cinematography.
I agree, but I mean, we haven't really said it that much, but this film is visually spectacular. Some of the camera work used, the set design is beautiful, but in this particular scene, there was at least one moment where you can see Han in the mirror and Lee comes around the corner, and I thought, for us to see him in the mirror and for him to come around the corner, he has to look directly at where Han is standing and then come around the corner. Just doesn't make any sense. It's stupid.
House of Mirrors.
It's not mirrors.
House of
He's just stood in front of him.
House of Mirrors.
Maybe.
Yeah, but I can't tell.
Unless Han is just stood there going, I'm a mirror. Don't look at me. I'm a mirror. I'll slash you.
If he can punch mirrors, he can not punch the real person.
Oh yeah, the amount of bad luck he got from breaking all of those mirrors. The fact he wins in the end, I was like, that's not right.
Did you guys not enjoy the narration of break the image? Like the foreshadowing right at the start is like, if you break the image, you will break Han. And then everyone's like, right, I've got to break the image. What does that mean? Right, fucking destroy the mirrors.
But that's smart. Like, I was like, yeah, clever. Break all the mirrors.
Not smart. He's just made it more confusing for himself. Now there's loads of hands everywhere.
But they distorted it. The real Han won't be. I did like how Han was like died, because it was in the final fight where we kind of got more weapons and a bit. He got to fight with nunchucks, and that was really cool. And the guy, the villain, was a bit confused. But then when he's fighting Han has a pole arm, quality weapon. That giant staff with a weapon with a giant staff with a big ass knife on the end. Yeah, I mean, pretty good.
Do you mean a spear?
It's a pole arm.
By the way,
this was a pole arm, not a spear. A spear is a pointy stick that you throw. This was a pole arm which you fight with.
Fair enough. But I did think I genuinely thought this was the stupidest bit of the whole film, is when he's finally killed Han and he comes out to see basically the majority of the fight still going on.
Yeah.
With some of it.
I loved the fight outside, though.
And you see, and you see the helicopter come over, and then it's just a shot of Lee, and he gives a thumbs up to Roper. I'm like, you two have not been friends the whole time you've been here. There is nothing there. Why the fuck are you giving him a thumbs up? That makes no fucking sense. And then the film ends. And I'm like, that's infuriating.
That's wrong, though, because that's exactly how you greet someone that you're not really friends with. You just sort of see them across the way and just go...
You're like, oh, we're on the same side. It's like when you see... when you're... Chandler, if you're in a Fulham shirt and you walk down the street and you see another guy in a Fulham shirt, you're like, hey, thumbs up. And that's it. And there was the point in the film where Roper, clearly, before the final fight, where they're doing a bit more tournament shenanigans, Roper kind of goes to Lee's side, and then they both have to fight Bolo, or whatever his name was.
One by one.
One at a time. But then
one at a time.
We're forgetting, though, Lee kills people. I don't know why, but I normally think if the protagonist that's in a Shaolin temple is not going to kill, but he killed people quite brutally in this. He killed O'Hara, the main bodyguard, at the start by double drop kicking him. Then did he kill Bolo the same way?
Oh my god, those were so funny. When he jumps up in the air to then kill them with his heel. Oh my god, that was so funny.
The noises of the bone cracking was quite brutal and probably the only realistic sounds in any of the fights.
He does kill people with karate chops to the body.
Yeah.
And if you can explain how he does that, that'd be great.
It's just one karate chop and he ruptures several organs. Right, it's time for takes, and for the last time, we have the big red box. I've scrubbed off Chandler's disgusting penis graffiti. But unfortunately, James has come along and drawn a big... I won't say what it is. You probably know. On our lovely red box with a little 7 on it. And the first name out of it this week is... it's me. It's me. Who just thought that? Right then. Let's get on with it. The box doesn't exist, the world is a lie.
They can see it now. Alex, full frame.
I just know that I'm just sat here. My take on this film, visually, a feast for the eyes. Even though it's from 1973, so it was recorded in 240p. So terrible, terrible quality. Doesn't matter. You can watch it on the best TV in the world. Those pixels ain't going to come back. But visually, beautiful. There's a lot of nice camera moves. There's some good acting by Bruce Lee, but I can't get past the simplicity of the story, the fact that people can be killed with a karate chop, the amount of hi-yas and that was just added in post. That's just bizarre. I mean, it might be historically true or something along those lines, but it's funny and strange.
Every sound was added in post. It's fine. All of it was added in post.
Exactly. All the dialogue, everything was added. And then to top it all off, the cherry on this mediocre cake was with 3 minutes left. I felt like there was so much to wrap up for a film that wasn't that complicated. I feel like they had a lot to wrap up within 3 minutes of the credits rolling. And with a little thumbs up and the army arriving, it was done in about a minute and a half. And then there's credits and then you have to go home. But I am well aware I've just watched an absolute classic. So, yeah.
See, I actually feel probably very much the same as Alex. Because I am aware I am watching like the OG, the classic, the one you have to watch, like film. Like it is on everyone's, as I said earlier, top 100 films you have to watch. But I still don't think that means you can get away from the flaws within the movie. I actually don't necessarily agree with what you two have said that it's visually stunning.
You're so wrong. Unbelievably
I don't
wrong.
think it is. I do think the majority of the action films are filmed very well. And the camera angles and the choreography of all that is done very well. I don't think it's visually stunning though, and that could be again
design?
recency bias. I could probably give it set design, but I could be recency bias from me going. I've seen it's been 50 years, technology and things like that have come such a long way that when you go back to watch this, you're like, it's very of its day.
I'm dumbfounded by this statement. I think you are wholeheartedly and utterly, completely wrong.
If these people had seen Avatar, they would have lost their marbles.
I think it's good. I do think that if I watched this in the 70s as, a 29-year-old man in the 70s, I would have loved it. But now coming back to watch it, I do think it's worth your time. However, I think there are very much these types of action films that are very substance over story kind of films
Style
that
over substance.
Would maybe bet. Yes, thank you. Style over substance films that would probably be worth more your time. To be honest, I think you watch it now for more the legacy of the main actor. You go, it's Bruce Lee. You have to watch this. This started everything else you've seen for the past 50 years. I agree with Alex. It just ends. Like it has a lot to wrap up, and it just there's your credits. You're like, what the fuck? Ends with a weird thumbs up. But yeah, I wouldn't rush back to watch this, essentially. Bruce Lee's acting in parts is very good. In parts is ridiculously funny. And it doesn't mean to be.
Probably mostly because of the dubbing, I think.
So yeah, that's my overall take. Like, it's good for its day, essentially. James?
So I go against what you said of it not looking visually great, which is the biggest... I don't think you've got eyes, personally. I don't completely disagree with the story. The story is quite basic. However, given the series, the martial arts series, and the 3 films we've watched, I think all 3 films have entirely shallow and extremely basic stories. To be honest with you, Karate Kid, wonderful film, basic as hell story. We said it in our episode. Rush Hour, good comedy, story that's been done to absolute death. And this is no different. That, these things have been done 1,000 times, but this one was one of the first, at least the first to break the West. I think it was absolutely stunning. There's some incredible cinematography. There's a lot of these really interesting tracking shots that then do handoffs to other characters. The use of reflections quite a few times to then move into another shot was really, really good. And then it kind of happens early on in the film, but then is exemplified in the final fight in the Hall of Mirrors. Really, really beautiful. It was filmed on 35mm. It was on Stanley Kubrick's favorite camera, an RE35. I completely now understand why people get obsessed with shooting on 35mm. Early on in the film, you get this wonderful set piece of Hong Kong. It's absolutely stunning. I honestly thought watching this that most of the frames could be posters. You could honestly take your pick of multiple frames in this film and have them on your wall as artwork. It was absolutely stunning. Yeah, for me, every frame was a picture. And then the martial arts. Bruce Lee was the best. He was a pioneer in his own form of Kung Fu, which incorporated lots of different martial arts and went away from the traditions of traditional Kung Fu. And he broke ground in cinema, making, kind of bringing, taking Asian characters and Asian actors into Western films and not have them being played by white people and horrendous racist caricatures. He was an absolute pioneer who we lost too soon. And I really thought this film was excellent. Yeah, the story wasn't that gripping. And there's some points in it that are a little bit slow, but it's absolutely beautiful. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. And yeah, I think I would watch it again. I'm keen to see something else from Bruce Lee, but I think they will all be I assume they'll be in Chinese. I don't think they'll be in Hong Kong movies. But yeah, thoroughly enjoyed it. But the time now is, boys, we move to our rating of the 3 in order. Now, I don't want to do this as the best film you preferred, but best martial arts film in our martial arts series.
Very quickly, the fight would break out between the extras on set because they were from rival Chinese triad families.
Jesus.
A lot.
That's mental.
Yeah, so quick ranking of our 3 films in our martial arts series trilogy.
I'll take this one.
I think, are you going to do it as your favourite film or are you going to do it as best martial arts film? Because this is the martial arts series.
Oh, yeah, it's the martial arts series, so obviously it's going to be Karate Kid first.
Really?
Then it's probably going to be Rush Hour, and then it's going to be Enter the Dragon.
I am shocked.
Probably because Jackie Chan is just a better martial artist than Bruce Lee.
I completely agree with Alex.
Really?
Karate Kid is the best film, then Rush Hour, then Enter the Dragon.
I think you guys are mental because all of these stories, as I said, were all shallow as hell.
Stick your Kubrick up your arse.
And this film definitely looked the best of all, and obviously Rush Hour was the funniest. But in martial arts
That's
films,
not true. Karate Kid was hilarious.
Yes, it was, but unintentionally. I go...
As this film.
This film was a gift to cinema. So Enter the Dragon first, then Karate Kid, and Rush Hour last, purely because it's not a martial arts film. However, if I was going to rank it on films I think I enjoyed, Rush Hour would be 2. But I like them all. They're all worth a watch.
Good for you, you pretentious douchebag. Alex, lead us out.
We're a film podcast. It's a visual medium, Chandler.
As we always say, it's an opinions-based podcast, even if James's opinion is wrong. That's it for the Martial Arts Trilogy of the Three Takes of Stupidity. For the next trilogy, send us your topics via our social pages or leave a comment on the very podcast you're listening to right now.
Or on the hot page.
Or on our hot page, of course, that no one fucking looked at. I don't know why you'd say that. So send it to that so we can't fucking see it.
Just because you've never logged into the email.
Have any suggestions, send them to our socials at 3 takes?
of Stupidity, yeah.
No, it doesn't matter what I say. Listen to James at the end of this episode. He will tell you.
Or in the description.
Past James. He knows.
I do.
Anyway, it's goodbye from Chandler.
Goodbye.
It's goodbye from James.
Goodbye.
It's goodbye from me. And of course, before we go, as usual, we're going to bring you a piece of rock-solid advice. Before bringing world-class martial artists to your private island, make sure you give your security some guns, or they will all die. They will die. They will be killed by Hayaz. Goodbye.
Don't forget to rate, review, and share the podcast. It really helps us grow. Follow us on all our socials, plus our individual letterboxd accounts. The links can be found in the description at www.hopwithtwopies.bio/3takes, or search for 3 Takes of Stupidity on most platforms. Please send us your film and series suggestions on our Hop page, or to 3takesofstupidity@gmail.com. Thank you, and hope to see you soon.